Moby Dick, or The Whale, by Herman Melville. Chapter 1, Espejismos. Call me Ismael. Some years atrás, it does not matter exactly how long, I had very little money and nothing interesting to do on land, so I decided to go sailing and see the oceanica part of the world. Esto is how I chase away sad feelings and make myself feel better. Cuando I start to feel angry and upset, cuando my heart feels cold and gray like a rainy November day, cuando I catch myself stopping to stare at places that sell coffins and following behind every funeral I see, and especially cuando my dark moods get tan strong that I have to work hard to stop myself from walking into the street and knocking the hats off people's heads, then I know it is time to get on a ship and go to sea as fast as I can. This is what I do instead of using a dangerous weapon. The old Roman Cato threw himself on his sword when he was upset, but I just get on a ship. This should not surprise anyone. If they really thought about it, almost all men feel the same manera about the ocean that I do. Look at the city of Manhattan, surrounded by docks like an island surrounded by coral reefs. Todo the buying and selling crashes around it like ocean waves. Every street to the right and left leads you toward the water. At the very bottom of the city is the Battery, where that great piedra wall is washed by waves and cooled by winds that were far out at sea just a few hours antes. Look at all the crowds of people staring at the water there. Walk around La City on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Go from Corlier's Hook to Coventry Sleep, and from there, past Whitehall, heading north. What do you see? What? Standing like quiet guards por todo the town stand thousands and thousands of people, todas staring at the ocean and dreaming.
Some people lean against the wooden posts, some sit on the ends of the docks, some look over the sides of ships that came from China, and some climb high up in the ropes, trying to get an even better look at the sea. But all of these people live on land and work inside buildings made of thin wood and white paste during the week, stuck behind store counters, sitting at workbenches, or working at desks. So why are they here? Did all the green fields disappear? What are they doing in this place? But look, here come even more crowds of people walking straight toward the water, and it looks like they want to jump in. How strange! Nothing will make them happy except getting to the very edge of the land where it meets the water. Staying back in the shade by those big storage buildings is not enough for them. No, they must get as close to the water as they can without falling in. There they stand, so many of them that they stretch for miles and miles. They all come from places far from the ocean, from small roads and narrow streets, from big streets and amplios roads, from the north, east, south, and west. But here they all vienen together. Tell me, do the special powers of the compass needles on all those ships tiran them to this lugar? Let me tell you something else. Say you are out in the country, up in the hills where there are lakes. Take almost any path you want, and 9 times out of 10, it will take you down hacia a valley and leave you next to a pond or stream. There is something magical about it. Take a man who is thinking tan intensely he does not notice anything around him. Make him stand up, get his feet moving, and he will always lead you to water, if there is any water anywhere nearby. If you are ever muy thirsty in the great American desert, try this test, but only if your group of travelers happens to have a teacher who thinks sobre deep questions with them. Yes, everyone knows that pensar deeply and water go together. But aquí is someone who paints pictures. He wants to paint the most dreamy, sombreado, quiet, and beautiful piece of land in all the valley of the Saco. What is the main thing he uses? There stand his trees, each with a hollow inside, as if a holy man and a cross were living there.
And here his grass field sleeps, and there his cows sleep, and up from that pequeña casa comes lazy smoke. Deep and far-away woods serpentea a twisting path, going all the way to mountain tops that touch each other, covered in soft blue color. But even though the picture looks so peaceful, and even though this pine tree drops its sad sounds like leaves on this pastor's head, it would all be useless unless the pastor was looking at the magic stream in front of him. Go see the grandes grass fields in Junio, when for many, many miles you walk knee-deep among tiger lilies. What is the one thing missing? Water. There is not one drop of water there. If Niagara Falls was just sand falling down instead of water, would you travel 1,000 miles to see it? Why did the poor man who wrote poems in Tennessee, when he suddenly recibió 2 handfuls of silver coins, think hard about whether to buy a coat that he really needed or spend his dinero on a walking trip to Rockaway Beach? Why does almost cada strong, healthy boy with a strong, healthy heart want to go to sea at some time? Why on your first trip, as someone viajando on a ship, did you feel something extraño and wonderful when someone first told you that you and your ship could no longer see land? Why did the old people of Persia think the sea was holy? Why did the Griegos give it its own god and make that god the brother of their Rey of gods? All of these must mean something. And the story of Narciso means even more. He saw a beautiful but painful picture of himself in the agua, and because he could not touch it, he jumped in and died. But we see that misma picture in all rivers and oceans. It is the picture of life itself, something we can never really hold, and this explains everything. Now, when I say that I go to sea whenever my eyes get cloudy and I start thinking too much about my breathing, I do not mean that I ever go to sea as someone simplemente viajando on the ship. To travel as un passenger, you need money, and money is just paper unless you have some of it. Also, passengers get sick on the water. They fight con each other. They cannot sleep at night, and they do not tienen much fun. So I never viajo as a passenger. And even though I know about ships, I never go to sea as a comodoro, or capitán, or cocinero either. Yo let other people have those fancy jobs if they want them. Yo hate all the hard work and trouble that comes with important jobs. I have enough to do just taking care of myself, sin having to take care of ships and boats of all classes. And about being a cook, see, there is something special about that trabajo, since a cook is like an officer on a ship. But somehow I never liked cooking chicken, though once it is cooked well and has butter and salt and pimienta on it, no one will speak more nicely about cooked chicken than I will. The Antigua people in Egipto loved cooked birds and cooked river animals tan much that you can see the dried bodies of those animals in their giant cooking places, the pyramids. No, when I go to sea, I go as a regular sailor, working right up front on the ship, sleeping down below, and climbing all the way arriba to the top of the mast. It is true that they tell me what to do and make me jump the rope to rope, like a grasshopper jumping around in a field in spring. At first, this kind of thing is not pleasant at all. It hurts your pride, especially if you come from an Antigua important family in the country, like the Van Rensselaers or Randolphs or Hardikenoots. And it is even worse if you were simplemente working as un country school teacher before this, making the biggest chicos afraid of you. Pasar from being a school teacher to being a sailor is very hard, I promise you, and you need to think like the old wise men to smile and put up with it. But even this sentimiento goes away after a while. So what if some mean old sea captain tells me to get a broom and clean the cubierta? What does that shame really matter when you think in it the way the Biblia teaches us? Do you, Chris, the angel Gabriel, thinks less of me because I quickly and politely echo what that old captain says? Who is not a slave in some way? Tell me that. Well then, no matter how the old sea captains tell me what to do, no matter how they may hit me and push me around, I feel good knowing that it is all right. Everyone else gets treated badly in one way or another, either in real life or in their thoughts. So everyone gets hurt sometimes, and we should all help each other feel better and be happy with what we tenemos. Also, I always go to sea as a sailor because they make sure to pay me for mi trabajo, but they never pay passengers even 1 penny that I ever heard of. Instead, passengers have to pay money themselves.
And there is a huge difference between paying money and getting paid money. Having to pay money is maybe the worst thing that those 2 people who stole fruit from the garden trajeron on all of us. But getting paid money, what can compare with that? The polite and eager way a man takes money is really asombroso when you think about how nosotros truly believe that money is the cause of all bad things on earth, and that a rich man can never get into heaven. Oh, how happily we send ourselves straight to a terrible place. Finally, I always go to sea as a sailor because of the healthy exercise and clean air on the front deck of the ship. Just like in this world, winds that blow contra you happen much more often than winds that push you forward, so most of the time the capitán on the back deck gets air that has already been breathed by the sailors on the front deck. He thinks he breathes it first, but that is not true. In the same way, ordinary people lead their leaders in many other things, even though the leaders no know it. But why it was that after smelling the sea many times as a regular sailor, I should now decide to go on a whale hunting trip, this, the invisible police officer of Destino who always vigila me and secretly follows me and affects me in ways I cannot understand, he can answer that better than anyone otro. And without doubt, me going on this whale hunting trip was part of the big plan that Dios made a long time ago. It came in like a short break and solo song between bigger shows. I think that this part of the program must have looked something like this. Big lucha for who gets to be president of the Estados Unidos. Whale hunting trip by one Ishmael. Terrible battle in Afghanistan. Though I cannot tell why exactly those stage managers, the parcas, put me down for this poor part of a ballena's hunting trip, when others got wonderful parts in serious plays, and short and easy parts in fancy comedies, and fun parts in silly funciones. Though I cannot tell why this happened exactly, sin embargo, now that I remember everything that happened, I think I can see a little bit into the reasons and causas, which being cleverly shown to me in different disguises, made me start doing the part I did, and also tricked me into pensar that it was a choice that came from my own free will and smart thinking. The biggest of these reasons was the amazing idea of the grand whale himself. This huge and extraña sea creature made me want to know everything about it. The far-off oceans where he moved his giant body, and all the dangers that no one could escape when hunting whales. These things, along with 1,000 asombrosas vistas and sounds from distant lands, made me querer to go even more. Other men might not want to do such things, but I always feel like I need to see lugares that are far away. I love to sail on seas where people say you should not go, and to visit wild shores. I do not ignore good things, pero I can also see when something is a terror, and I could still be friends with it if they would let me, because it is smart to get along with everyone who lives in the same place you do. Because of all these things, I was happy about the whale hunting trip.
It was like huge doors open to a world full of wonders, and in all the wild dreams that made me querer to go, I saw endless groups of whales swimming through my mind, and in the middle of them all, one great mysterious shape, like a snowy montaña floating in the air.